And through the drifts the snowy cliffs did send a dismal sheen, nor shapes of men nor beasts we ken, the ice was all between. Striders, it's time for another issue of Magic in 10. We have 10 minutes to describe a Magic the Gathering card or interaction. Why? Because it takes 10 minutes to explain what's going on. That's just how complicated Magic the Gathering is. It's best said by the vampire from Twilight, I'm learning Magic the Gathering, the game, with more rules than game. So this episode, episode 4, we're talking about Clone. You can call it a bunch of other cards in Magic the Gathering. My favorite is the Vesuvan Doppelganger, or Evil Twin, or here it's Spark Double. And here you see in Magic the Gathering Arena, you cast a Spark Double. It's a 0/0 creature. It says on the bottom right, */*, when then the asterisks are defined in the card. And now we have a 28/28 Spark Double. So what in the heck just happened? Well, the Spark Double came into play with Neoform. It has a text, copy this creature, and it's a 0/0 with a 1/1 counter. So then we have another Spark Double, and we cast it, and it copies the Spark Double, and when it comes into play, the comes into play ability of that Spark Double comes into play, which copies the ability of Spark Double, 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 until it just stops. So we have a 20-something, it's an infinite combo. If you're wondering about it, it does look like a bug, doesn't it? It's like it's impossible to create this infinite combo, because if the comes into play ability goes off, then it resolves. But in Magic the Gathering, Eli Schifrin, we're fully aware of a loophole allowing Spark Double to copy another Spark Double that isn't a copy of anything and repeat more times than 140 characters allow me to properly express growing quite large. This is correct under current rules. Will change in the future. Hashtag WotC's staff. This is really difficult to understand, but the thing with replacement effects is it's a replacement effect for a copy effect, which copies the replacement effect, which makes another copy effect. I think this would be a little unable to understand if this was like a Flame Tongue Kavu, which also had the copy of Clone, so you could see like the Flame Tongue Kavu actually like hitting the creatures over and over again, rinse and repeat. So let's get into the Gatherer rules. Okay, so first we have to know what a copy is. The copyable values of an object are its name, its mana cost, its color indicator, its card type, subtype, super type, like legendary, rules text, that's the little box below the picture, power, toughness, and loyalty. And what it means by that means if you see like a little power toughness box on the bottom right corner of the card, like in the ink, then it has that power and toughness. If it isn't like specifically written on like the ink of the card, then you don't copy that power and toughness. For example, if you had like it says here a chimeric staff, but if you had like a Cormus Bell, which makes swamps a 1/1 creature, you could clone a swamp and you would have a basic swamp. Or if you had a living lands, which makes all forests 1/1 creatures, you could clone a forest and you would have a basic forest. If you had a Mishra's Factory, which is one colorless, Mishra's Factory becomes a 2/2 assembly worker until end of turn, and you copied the assembly worker, you would have a Mishra's Factory. It would not be a 2/2. It would just be a land that would tap for a colorless mana, and that you could activate it to make it a 2/2. So it doesn't say like on the ink. It doesn't have numbers on it. It also only copies the one side of an object. If you copy a morph creature, you can't morph your clone. Your clone actually becomes a 2/2 creature that's colorless with no abilities and no creature type and not even a name, which is more vanilla than a vanilla creature. Really strange. I looked at it when I was a child, around high school. D'Angelo's rulings on Vesuvan Doppelganger was the longest rulings of any other card in Magic the Gathering. I wish CrystalKeep.com was alive today so I could show the history of it. And this is the old 1998 rulings. It has it as an activated ability. It's not really an activated ability anymore. It can with the Vesuvan Doppelganger. If you have a clone of a Vesuvan Doppelganger, your clone becomes a Vesuvan Doppelganger, which means your clone has an activated ability where at the beginning of your upkeep, your clone can be a copy of a creature, which means that it's really smart to have 4 Vesuvan Doppelgangers and 4 clones in your deck, because it's like you have 8 Vesuvan Doppelgangers. Quite literally. So many silly little things. So it's cumulative upkeep counters like ice counters from the Ice Age cards. It applies, for example, if you copied a Hellstorm Firekite with 3 upkeep payments, and then you switch to a Soul W Simulacrum, and its next upkeep payment would be 4. So those are kept track. If you copied a fading creature, the fading number that's written on the ink of the card is copied, not the number of fading counters that's actually on the creature. So if you had like a Skyshroud Behemoth with 1 fading counter on it, you would have the number of fading counters on your doppelganger that was written on the card. You have to pay like Echo on your Vesuvan Doppelganger. You can't change your Vesuvan Doppelganger at the beginning of your upkeep. Echo activates at the beginning of your upkeep, and the Doppelganger's ability activates at the beginning of the upkeep, but the Echo costs have priority on the Vesuvan Doppelganger. Here's one. When Doppelganger switches creatures, it hasn't left play. Because when you leave play, you have to go from one zone to another zone, and a clone doesn't leave play. So you can clone a Gaia's Liege, turn a couple of lands into forests, turn into Aladdin, steal a couple of artifacts, and your opponent has lost a couple of artifacts and has lost a couple of lands into forests. Both, because you just haven't changed zones. This is just massive. It's 706 can I say just how enormous this is? It just doesn't even apply just to clone, but the fork cards too are also copy cards. But we're just going to stick to Vesuvan Doppelganger because we don't have enough time to talk about the fork spells. So it doesn't trigger any of the battlefields or leaves the battlefield abilities. So if your Vesuvan Doppelganger changes into a Flamestun Kavu, it doesn't do 4 damage to a creature as an enter the battlefield or ETB effect because it didn't go from one zone to another. The Vesuvan Doppelganger stays in the in-play zone. One thing that made me really mad about Cardforge, which is like a hack of Magic the Gathering, is that a clone of a level up creature could not level up. That's not true. When I said you can copy the text box of the card, if you clone a level up creature, you can continue leveling up your creature, and then you can switch it to another level up creature and level up that creature with that level up costs, and the level ups will stay on your Vesuvan Doppelganger as it's being changed. If you magical hack a Vesuvan Doppelganger, change its color or clone and change its color, and then you clone another thing, the magical hacks are lost. But if you clone something with like a Holy Strength on it, you don't actually add the power and toughness of the Holy Strength. It uses layer 1. So if you're casting a Vesuvan Doppelganger and you choose a Voice of All, you get to comes into play as a color. You get to choose a color. You can have protection of the color. Or if you cast a Vesuvan Doppelganger and you choose Aquarian Elf, you get to choose a color. You can tap and add a mana of that color. But if you cast Vesuvan Doppelganger and then changed it into something else like a Voice of All, the Voice of All didn't come into play as choosing a color, so you don't have protection from any color in particular, not even the one that you copied from Voice of All. Same thing is if you cast a Vesuvan Doppelganger and you changed it after it came to play the next turn into a Aquarian Elf, you never actually chose a color, so you don't actually get to use Aquarian Elf's second ability of adding a mana of that color into your mana pool. If you copy a meld card or a melded permanent, you get to copy a melded card. See Rule 7112, one card. You can copy the flip cards from the Kamigawa block. If the Vesuvan Doppelganger is flipped, then it can copy the flipped version of the flip card, the upside down cards. If the Vesuvan Doppelganger is unflipped, then it copies the unflipped card. So instants that change a creature's abilities aren't copied either. If you cast Flight to give a creature flying until end of turn, your copy doesn't have Flight. If you Giant Growth the creature and then you copied it, you don't have a Giant Growth clone of Vesuvan Doppelganger. If you copy a creature with phasing, you don't have a creature that's phased out. Your creature's always copied phasing in. One last note about Vesuvan Doppelganger: if your friends do play Show and Tell in a multiplayer game, the way of playing Show and Tell is you pick your card and you hover over it upside down over the table, and then you ask everyone, do you agree if the card should be turned upside down or not? And if everyone agrees, everyone turns it upside down at the exact same time. And what's unfortunate about Show and Tell is not everyone has to pick a creature. You can pick anything but a Planeswalker. So you might have a Vesuvan Doppelganger come into play as a 0/0 creature because there's no other creatures in play, and then it goes immediately into the graveyard as a static effect. Well, it looks like we're out of time about talking about Clone. If you have any more questions, leave something in the comments. If you get anything out of this at all, just remember, just copies what's written on the ink of the card. Thanks for watching. Friends, Wall of Ice Cream has a Facebook page. Check it out and send your fan mail to Gmail or ideas for new content. And see my previous videos at Udioshlet. Not Wall of Ice Cream yet. Getting to 100 subscribers and I'll change it to Wall of Ice Cream. Or you can come play with me on PlayStation. My username is Wall of Ice Cream, and see me on Twitch, Wall of Ice Cream. I might be there on Sundays. Thanks for watching.